The scent line by Hugo Boss has been more than just a moderate success. Although it's not received maybe the heights of popularity as the Sauvage line or the Bleu de Chanel line, it's certainly done very well for itself. And I'm a very big fan of both the Absolute and the Private Accord. The Absolute is more my favourite, but how I see it is that this is autumn and this is winter. And so what Hugo Boss has presented us with is, well, why don't we go for spring and summer? To say that I was excited or really hyped for this is an understatement. I discovered these, I thought they were brilliant, and you might be a fan, probably more of the Private Accord. That is the one that really took off. But you also might be, in general, a fan of the original, the Intense version, the Absolute version, whatever it will be. But there's one clear thing, and that is that this is a cold weather series of fragrances. So out of the blue, really, Pure Accord was announced and then it's released and everything. And I decided to get a 50ml because I was a little bit cautious. I think that it's a really intriguing and I think it's a really strong idea to try and take this DNA towards spring and summer, but would it pay off? So let's just get straight into it with the presentation. And this bottle is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. I think it's a great looking bottle, and with the colour scheme it's got this sort of white chocolate tinge to it, which I thought to myself, maybe they're gonna try and take away the harsh bitter dark chocolate they did with Private Accord and maybe have a really sweet and intense white chocolate, maybe with some vanilla, maybe with some amber. Didn't quite work out like that, but the bottle here is great. I think that in general the bottle design has gone from strength to strength, but this is probably my favorite design out of all of them. I think it's very striking, very beautiful, and it just looks fantastic. Very streamlined, very efficient, as Hugo Boss usually do, but just wonderful. I'm very happy to give this presentation a 5 out of 5. Unfortunately, it's somewhat all downhill from there. The scent, which of course is the most important part, is, well, okay. So you open this, and this is what happens. The initial blast of this is great. It's very similar to Private Accord, but it's got this green, lemony citrus element to it. And it's obviously the fruit that is used within the scent. So they've taken that, they've dialed it all the way up, and they've added some citruses, and there's still a bit of leather, more like suede, very subtle, somewhat synthetic, but it's there. But this is very fruity, it's very tangy, really promising, and it's kind of a combination between the Earl Grey, which is what I'm drinking, the Earl Grey element that I remember from 212, the fruit that is used within the Hugo Boss scent line, and some really nice fruity and squeezable citruses. And that's great for about 4 minutes. And then it's nothing. It's very powdery. All of the juiciness, all of the zestiness has disappeared. The suede has gone, the fruit has gone. It's all just dissipated. It's almost as if you've thrown a load of water, like fruity water, onto a really hot pavement, and it's just gone up and evaporated. And it's gone, and what I get now is more of a very colder, placid, powdery, fruity smell. But all of the personality has disappeared and it's gone. And that's incredibly disappointing. The weather here at the moment is really up and down. Today it's really cold, but we've had some warmer days where it's been pushing like 13, 14 degrees centigrade, and I've made it my mission to go out and wear this then. But even in warmer temperatures, and from sort of my instinct, I know that even in the highest of heat, I don't think that this would be any different. And it's disappointing because this is such a great idea. Such a brilliant idea for, taking the concept of the scent, taking the DNA, taking the overall structure and trying to translate it into a spring and summer fragrance. I was all on board. I was uncertain how they were going to do it. but it feels as though they started doing it and it was going well, and then they just sort of chickened out on the dry down. And this feels kind of like a first or second draft, maybe a third or fourth, but yeah, it's the scent at the beginning is great, and then after that it's not really anything, and that's very disappointing. Like I say, I don't want to be too harsh because I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a difficult idea. I think it's a challenging idea. Once I heard that they were doing this, I didn't think, oh, well, that'll be a straightforward thing to do. That will be a straightforward fragrance to make. No, I could see some inevitable challenges. How are you going to replace the amber elements? How are you going to replace the leather elements? There's a lot of darkness and there's some real ambery sweet depth in here, and there's a lot of sweetness. So how are you going to really do that? After the initial testing of 1 week, I saw Ashton's video, which I will link somewhere, and yeah, we're in agreement. We weren't in agreement when it came to 1 million Parfum. He didn't like it. I really liked it. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant release. But yeah, the problems that he's had are the problems that I've had with it, so that's a shame. The scent overall, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. A good attempt, no doubt, but there's not really a lot here to go on. Don't worry, I will be recommending a fragrance as a substitute for this at the end of the video. So if you wanted this, you liked the idea of this, but I've now put you off, hopefully successfully, because this is quite a bit of money, and it's not really worth it with what you're getting. Yes, I will provide an alternative at the end. And then we come to the most dismal part of this fragrance, and that is the performance. Projection is, well, this is the whole thing with this fragrance. You start off really well here, and then it just crashes, just an absolute plane crash. And that's in sort of every aspect. The scent starts fantastic and great, and I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go, and then it crashes. Projection, really good solid projection in those first 5 minutes. I'm not even kidding, it's not even further than that, and then it just becomes a skin scent. So projection overall is really weak, really, really weak. I'm talking, this is a skin scent, you know? This makes Dolce & Gabbana's The One look like Oud Satin Mood. I'm talking a 1.5 with projection. And longevity, 3-4 hours at the very most, and then it's just gone. You know, that's kind of inexcusable, especially for Hugo Boss, especially for a flanker in the scent line. There's no reason why this is only lasting 3 to 4 hours. So, I don't know. Again, that's probably 1.5. If I was to give the benefit of the doubt, it would be 2 out of 5. But I don't think I will. I think I'll give it 1.5. Overall, 1.5. Very, very disappointing. Test it yourself. Maybe you'll get different results, but you know, with Ashton, he had a similar problem, and from other people I've heard, you know, they've said that their performance sucks. Just overall disappointing. Overall, this is a decent prototype for a potentially great fragrance, but it's not a great fragrance. If anything needed reformulating, just it feels like when Assassin's Creed Unity came out, and there were just all those bugs, and just like it was just absolutely unplayable and difficult, and there were all those glitches, and so Ubisoft had to go back and they had to basically reinstall it and recreate it. It feels like one of those video games these days that there's so much pressure put on video game developers right now that they release their games and they're unfinished. They're literally unfinished. And so you have to buy all the DLC and the patches and all that. And this feels like an unfinished fragrance. It feels as though once it is finished, it will be great, but it's not right now. So that's very unfortunate. Overall, this is getting a 2 out of 5. Bottle's very nice, but the performance is inexcusable. And the scent, we've been shooting this for what, 10 minutes? Yeah, it's dying to death. So don't get this. The long and the short of it, don't get this. Now we come to the alternative. And I've not been keeping this fragrance from you guys. It's not, that's not right. But I've known about this fragrance for quite a while, and I've worn this for about a year. But I was just kind of resistant to talk about it because nobody else talked about it. And so I was like, this is my own little thing. And, that just was great. But I knew that one day I'd have to talk about this fragrance, I'd have to talk about this brand. And smelling this, as soon as I smelled this, I thought, I don't want people buying this. If you want something that has vanilla and it has amber, but it also has the nice fruity, citrusy accords that go along with your stereotypical summer fragrance, let me introduce you to this. This is from Carner, Barcelona. This is called Bobo. And this is, well, it's my time to reveal and talk about it. I'll talk about it very briefly, but now that the cat's out of the bag, that's amazing. I'm just stunned that nobody has talked about this. One of the reasons why I didn't talk about it is I thought, this is going to be, if Jeremy gets his hands on this, I thought, then that's going to be the end of that. In fact, I even showed this to Jeremy when I was in Los Angeles, and I said, what do you think of Bobo by Carner? And he smelled it and he went, yeah, man, that is definitely some sexy stuff, man. And I was like, great, Jeremy. Well, I can't wait to see this in like a million top 10 lists, but it never happened and nobody's ever really talked about it. So I thought, right, well, it's my little secret then. It's great. But yeah, Bobo by Carner. Now that the cat's out of the bag, I'm probably going to be talking about this a lot more. You'll be seeing it on the spring and the summer list. How do I describe that? It's got the same fruity element, but it's also got this vanilla undertone, and it's got all of these different citruses, and then it's kind of like Artisan Pure. You get the high concept citrus of Artisan Pure, you put it in here, and you put what this is trying to do with the more in-depth elements, the elements that give it sort of more of a thicker texture, a thicker feel with the amber, and that sort of more stereotypical designer amber that's in all of these. You put it in here as well, and it's mesmerizing, and it's very sophisticated. It's great, and I will start talking about it a lot more. There's a lot of great fragrances that I'm going to talk about this year. Bobo, Eau de Mauvais. It's going to be a wild spring and summer, that's for sure. So those are my thoughts on Hugo Boss The Scent Pure Accord. Overall, it's very, very disappointing, and yeah, I just wouldn't recommend it. I'd give it a 2 out of 5. Not great one bit. Anyway, sorry to deliver the bad news, but I think that a lot of reviewers will probably agree, unfortunately. So anyway, I'm the Fragrance Price. Hope that you enjoyed this review, and if you did and you got something out of it, then please hit subscribe and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload. Anyway, thanks so much. I'm the Fragrance Price. Goodbye.